There's a police song called Message in the Bottle. A lot of answers for some people are found in bottles. Bottles, unmarked bottles, contain mysteries, questions, possibly concerns. Yes, as you can see right here, we have a small little bottle of whiskey, unknown whiskey. What's the message in this bottle? What kind of joy could it potentially bring to those who love to imbibe the brown liquor? I don't know. I don't know what this is. It's all part of our podcast tonight on Whiskey Business. Hi, I'm Dino Tripodis, and welcome to Whiskey Business, a podcast not so much about whiskey as it is one with whiskey, even whiskeys we do not know. We do know that our guest bottle tonight, our 77th bottle, wow, of the podcast.
We're getting there.
Yeah, go west, young man. We went high west with the American Prairie bourbon. A lovely blended bourbon. 3 different straight bourbon whiskeys. One's 2 years old, one's 6 years old, one's 13 years old, but the good people at High West like to keep all that top secret as to what they actually blend. Some aficionados seem to think that a lot of it comes from some of the blends come from our friends at Four Roses in there. And our guest, who I'll introduce here in just a moment, detected a little bit of rye. Actually, it's got a nice high rye content, about 20 or more percent of high rye content. But it is our guest bottle for tonight. And this is a guest bottle as well. And who does it come from? Who does it come from? It comes from a repeat guest, a return guest who we're thrilled to have back on the podcast, the Superintendent for Ohio Liquor Control for the state of Ohio, Mr. James Canepa, is back with us once again. Yay! A lot of views, a lot of listens on your last appearance.
Really?
Yes, because we covered a lot of ground and answered a lot of questions. First of all, I want to say congratulations on still having a job.
That's nice. That's nice.
I don't mean because of how you do your job, because we have a new administration.
That's right.
We have a new governor, and sometimes when somebody new comes into power, they clean house. Mm-hmm. But you seem to have stuck around.
Well, you don't get rid of the home run hitters, Dino.
Are you the home run hitter? Well, you see, and also,
liquor.
You strike me like you would be a guy that Governor DeWine would like. You get things done.
I hope so.
And you dig and you go a little deeper sometimes than you even need to go. And I think he respects something like that. So we're thrilled. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
We here on Whiskey Business are thrilled because, quite honestly, we didn't want to break in another guy.
Well, yeah. Well, blind squirrels find nuts, and I've continued to find them. So
we're not going to get into this right yet. The first question we have right out of the gate, for those of you who actually saw the first podcast with James Canepa, towards the end he had another mystery bottle, and we were to determine what that was. He never told us. It was kind of his, even though he didn't need it, it was his card for getting back. Yeah.
Here's my shtick.
Yeah. Now you got to have me back, which we were going to do anyway.
It's like when I would leave my coat at a girl's dorm room, be like, oh, I got to come back and get that coat.
Yeah.
Well, you heard about somebody doing that.
Oh, no, I do that. My buddies used to do that, not me.
Yeah. Hey, you know what, ladies, with all due respect, you've done it too. You've left things behind at certain places, knowing that you'd have to go back and wanted to go back. So ain't nobody innocent when it comes to that. My first question is, what was that whiskey? I thought I was close when I said it was in the Jim Beam family.
What'd you think?
He doesn't remember.
You don't remember.
John,
I remember.
What do you remember?
I thought it was 3 Binds made here in Ohio, just because it had such a unique flavor. But I was just throwing.
Ready? You have a drum roll here. Woodford barrel selection by the Department of Liquor. Buckeye Blend #1.
Really?
$49.99.
Yeah.
Under $50, right?
Available?
It wasn't that year.
Was it available then?
It
Shortly
was.
thereafter?
It was. And we've got another 4 barrels coming from Woodford again. So it'll be Buckeye Blend number 2.
The Buckeye Blend number 1's gone, huh?
Gone.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was good.
Yeah.
It was good. It's gone.
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 And you, as the superintendent, obviously got a chance to.
Well, I tasted the barrels, and we picked the
Tasted the
barrels. Yeah, I mean that's. You go down to Woodford. You guys went to Russell's. You taste the barrels. The state has the opportunity to buy the barrels to bring into the state to sell at the liquor stores, and it's a new thing. I think we talked about it last time.
Yeah.
The state had never bought barrels.
Right.
Private folks, clubs, bars bought barrels, but the state wasn't buying barrels. So now we're buying barrels.
And having barrel release.
And barrel release
events.
all the time.
Right.
In fact, we'll talk about it later, but the numbers on bourbon sales are just being goosed tremendously by those barrel picks.
People like them.
It's crazy. Well, they're like snowflakes. You know, what's in that barrel is unique.
It's unique. It's one of a kind.
Right? And so it's not whatever's in there when that barrel's gone, whether it's 25 cases or 10 cases, if depending on the angel share, when it's gone, it's gone.
Do you think that's a good thing for whiskey? You think that's a good thing for the market? You think that's a good thing for the industry?
Oh, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah?
I think it's fantastic, especially for bourbon lovers, for people who are looking for that unique thing, that one of a kind thing. People are cuckoo for it, and
It's like a collectible. Yeah.
it's a collectible. It's something to brag about.
Yeah.
At Thanksgiving, it's driving sales through the roof on bourbon.
Would we be impressed with your bourbon collection at home? Being, because when you think, here's what the common person's going to think. He's the superintendent for the state of Ohio for liquor control. He's got to have first dibs, literally, on everything that comes into the state of Ohio. His house must be tremendous with the selections and the rarities and so forth. Would we find like just like being off? We walked into your home and said, oh, wow.
I think you'd be woefully disappointed.
Really?
Yeah. Well, now I like we were talking about before. I love ancient age.
Yeah.
I like that
Ancient age.
ancient or ancient.
You told us about ancient age
Last time.
last time we were here. And then you said that shortly after that, a bottle started disappearing.
I like Wild Turkey 101. I like whiskey, right? So I don't need like some crazy expensive thing. I just find something I like and I keep buying it.
But you appreciate.
Of course, like McKenna. Like I was drinking McKenna.
That's a great one.
McKenna's a good one.
We've had that on the podcast.
And so I'd be buying McKenna. Like, that's my go-to. And then
And that's-
now I can't find it.
And that's one of the things we kind of strive for, or on the podcast we try to bring in whiskeys that are $50 and under. This one, I believe, was $38.99, $39.99, and have you had this one before?
I have had it.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm just now starting to understand and appreciate ryes. It's sometimes a little too sweet for me. I like that hot bite, which is why I like that 101.
Yeah. Well, there's some hot, good rye. See, I've always enjoyed ryes. I've been an Ohio drinker of rye when all we had on the shelf was Old Overholt, and that was it. That was all you had. That was your selection of rye. There might have been a George Dickel hanging around there someplace, but this isn't a rye. This is just their bourbon, and like I said, 3 different blends of bourbon. And I think High West does a nice job. But I find this one to be a little sweet. Mm-hmm. I don't know has your nose gotten better since you started this job?
Totally. I mean, I totally get. I pick up the different things, and I kind of know, like, okay, I'm gonna like that one. I'm not gonna like that one.
So yeah, this one's got a little caramely in the beginning, a little vanilla. It's got a nice vanilla.
Oh, it's sweet.
Finish.
Like to me, this, which is why I'm drinking it neat. I think you pick up the notes better when it's neat. But
Sure.
this to me is like almost like a cognac. It's so sweet.
That's sweet. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And there's nothing wrong with it.
Nothing. And I think this would actually be, for those people who like to make craft cocktails, I think this would be a good bourbon to make craft cocktails with, if you wanted to go and mess around with it. But, yeah.
I mean, if you like rye, we just brought that Stephen Beam Limestone Branch, 100% red rye.
I did not know that.
That was a barrel release we just did, and 100% red rye. You drink this stuff and you feel like you're eating a piece of rye toast. I mean,
It's my favorite toast.
It's fantastic.
Make a Reuben out of it.
And then rye toast. Yeah. Every time I go to a diner or a restaurant, it's always rye toast.
Now, of course, Stephen Beam and Limestone Branch make one of those small barrels, like one of those a day. So, like, their inventory of barrels is very small. So we were able to get one barrel, which had like 90 bottles, 90 375s.
Wow.
So we did that release, and people were lined up at out the doors at 3 different liquor stores before 9 o'clock. And so we had to count them out, like, okay, how many are there? How many bottles do we have?
How do you do that, by the way? Because being the self-centered bourbon drinkers that we are, when we get your newsletter, when we see something on the website that says there's going to be a barrel release, I automatically think it's just in Columbus. Screw the rest of the state. So how do you determine where that whiskey goes and to what cities, and does Columbus get the lion's share?
Well, it's a combination of things. Remember, we're running a retail business, right? And so
I forget that.
Yeah, I know. It's like supply and demand. So we're looking at sales velocity, and if it was just purely based on sales velocity, Columbus, Ohio, buys bourbon. So we look at where the sales velocity is. But these events have to be hosted by a liquor store, and so we ask basically 480 stores if you want to host one of these, because it's in their interest to host it too.
You say 480 stores? Is that how many?
480 liquor stores
in the state of Ohio.
In the state of Ohio, those are the state of Ohio's agents. Remember, they sell the bourbon on consignment for a commission. It's not their inventory.
Right.
It's the state's inventory, and so, but they also sell wine, chips, beer, jerky, whatever else, and they want these events because hundreds of people line up out the door before the doors even open for these barrels. And so what we do is we're like, who wants to host one of these events? Because hundreds of people are going to show up. Do you have the parking lot? What are you going to do if it's raining or it's 0 degrees? How are you going to host that event and merchandise the product? So again, it's a business decision, and not every liquor store wants that kind of chaos and mayhem.
It is chaos
and mayhem. It is. It's crazy.
It's nuts.
And so it's really a function of where do we have velocity. Now if I'm putting out a 100% rye Limestone Branch, or I'm putting out a Russell Reserve, am I going to put it in like Fireball Township in Nowheresville, Ohio, where they buy Fireball? If I put it there might be like one guy who like digs that, but from a business proposition, I want to put it where A, people want it, and B, where that agency sells high-end bourbon or that type of bourbon. And so it really it's a combination of things. Where do we sell it? Who wants to host it? And how much do we have? For example, the Elijah Craig that's coming up.
Yeah, I saw that's the latest. Is that a barrel release coming up?
It's a barrel release, right? That's a Heaven Hill product. When I went to visit,
when's that happening?
That's this Friday.
This Friday, I thought.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a situation where I traveled to Heaven Hill and talked to the owner, Max Shapira, and he was going to give me one barrel. And he's going through his PowerPoint slide deck, and he's like, Heaven Hill and the oldest, longest family-owned distillery in Kentucky, and we have this and we have this, and we're number 3 in total sales for bourbon. And I'm like, we can help you with that. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, you sell barrels privately, and you sell barrels to restaurants, but you're giving me one barrel, and I can really like promote it, merchandise it, get your name out there, get people understanding that you sell Old Ezra, that you sell McKenna, that you sell, your whole lineup.
Yeah, people forget sometimes what's underneath a distiller's umbrella.
Right.
As far as product.
Right. And so, because if you looked at that thing I sent you, it talks about the whole Heaven Hill distillery, the whole thing. So we promote it. And so I said, if you give me one barrel, you know what that does? It makes people mad. Because I get 200 plus bottles, and like everybody's like, I didn't get a chance to get it. I said, he goes, well, how many do you want? I'm like, how about like 15? And he's like, so I got 15 barrels. And at some juncture, you know, he asked
he groused at 15 barrels.
Well, he didn't realize like the program we have going here.
Okay.
I mean, the barrel programs in Ohio, like we're number one in bourbon sales volume, meaning 9-liter cases. We're number one.
Number one
in all control states, Pennsylvania,
and
Michigan, Virginia,
and for
North
those
Carolina.
who did not see the first podcast, explain what a controlled state is.
So there are states that own the inventory. Mm-hmm. The states that own the inventory sell the bottles, and it's a retail business for the state of Ohio. Right. After Prohibition, the federal government said, okay, states, you decide how you want to do business on selling high-proof spirits. Ohio and 16 other states, like I said, Michigan, Virginia, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, all own the liquor. Now, in Pennsylvania, they own the beer and the wine, too. But in Ohio, footnote in history, is the only state that took and controls high-proof spirits. All low-proof is bought and sold as inventory for the grocery stores, like their chips, like their beer, like their dairy, whatever. And so when we compare, the good thing about a control state is we hold retail prices. In other words, if you find a bottle of Weller here, it's going to be $29.99.
Not anymore.
Well,
it went up.
Well,
why did it go up?
Not here. It didn't go up. Not yet.
It's going up though, isn't it?
It's going up in every other state. It's $29.99 here.
It was 24 or something.
Well, not before I cut my deal, but it is going.
We were saying, well, it went up $4.
No, it is going up in all the other states, $49.99.
Yeah,
and they can get that. They can get that price. Yeah, and that's the manufacturer sets the price, not the state.
I see.
And so, and my deal was on Weller Reserve and Weller Antique. Is we're the only state that gets constant replenishment.
And it is,
and you're starting to see it, right?
And I told people that. I said you're going to start seeing, because people went nuts,
crazy
when the Weller started hitting the shelves,
right?
And like, oh, they're out of it. And I said, just be patient. Right. As if you listen to the podcast, the hope, the plan is for it to be
market share here in Ohio,
common as a bottle of Maker's Mark.
Now why? Why would Sazerac pick Ohio?
Because of James Canepa.
Because of the market.
All right.
It's because of the market. And
market.
we're the highest volume state for bourbon sales. And because of that, the manufacturers are like, whoo, that's a good market for bourbon. So when they're deciding between Virginia and Ohio on Weller unlimited replenishment, we get the deal. And so Weller right now $29.99 or $29.95, whatever it is.
And even at $29.99, it's a retail. It's still a damn good bargain.
And so, but if you go to Illinois, that bottle is going to be secondary market price. Okay. It's going to be secondary market. Now, for all the commodity liquors,
because they're not a control state.
No, it's just
they can charge whatever the hell they want.
It's what the market will bear.
So my sister brought me a bottle of Blanton's for $90,
right?
But out of Kentucky, and
right?
I was like $90,
right?
I would have rather buy 4 Wellers,
right? And so
yeah, I would too, to be honest with you.
So when I look, when you measure like how Ohio does in the bourbon business, you look at your comps, right? You look at Virginia, Pennsylvania, Michigan. In North Carolina, and we sell more bourbon than any of those places, and it's because of the barrel program. Because people here are cuckoo for bourbon, and so those manufacturers,
For bourbon. That
those-
should be a T-shirt.
those manufacturers now are like, we want, how much more do you want? Like last year, I got that Buckeye blend. We got 2 barrels. This year, I got 5 barrels.
Nice.
Maker's Mark. Last year, I got 6. This year, I got 10.
Is the Buckeye blend number 2? Is it kind of like the movies? Like, can I appreciate number 2 if I haven't had number 1?
It's like the Godfathers.
Yeah.
It's like
Am I gonna understand the complexities
Now-
of Buckeye
now when we
blend
get
number 2?
you'll be
if I haven't had number 1.
you'll be disappointed in 3. But you'll be really happy with 1 and 2. But you know, so that's
Excuse me.
I can't even remember what the original question was, but
Either do I. but you mentioned you threw out a term out there, which is gonna be a nice segue into something I was gonna get into just a little bit later. But since you brought it up,
save it for later. That's a good one.
well,
Secondary market.
Let's get into it now.
Okay, good.
Because one of the teases that I put on Instagram was about that. So let's put it right in the
Let it
middle.
rip.
Let's put it right in the middle of the chunk, and then we can talk about some of the other things that the great state of Ohio is doing for those whiskey enthusiasts. The secondary market. Ohio has started cracking down on selling rare whiskeys on the secondary market. You can go to jail, correct? Don't do the crime if you can't do the time, right? And people are in an uproar. Some people are saying, who are you, Ohio, to tell me what I do with this bottle of whiskey that I was fortunate enough to get?
Especially
Now-
with how easy it is online to do this.
And some
Absolutely.
people, and some people, granted, are opportunists and only buy that whiskey so they can sell it as an exaggerated price on the secondary market. Tell us, why did this happen, and why are we cracking down on it in Ohio?
Let me start with a story.
Okay, I like a story.
So there was a guy who was robbing everything on the east side of Columbus. He was known as the East Side Robber. He robbed gas stations. He robbed dairy marts. He robbed little motels. And he was getting away with it. And they were starting to put up posters everywhere, like East Side Robber, blah, blah, blah. And he was, like, good. He got away with it, like, over and over and over. This is probably in the late 90s, late 80s, mid 90s, East Side Robber.
Did they base the characters off of Home Alone, off of this guy?
No. Yeah, Pesci.
Yeah.
No. But he did residential.
Okay. The Wet Bandit. That's
The
what
Wet
reminds me
Bandit.
of. Okay. All right.
So,
Sorry, I digress.
so until one day, the police, I think the Whitehall police, get a call. There's this frantic woman waving her arms on Main Street out in front of this, like, no-tell motel. So somebody calls 911. Police go out there, and they're like, well, what's up? And she's just like, MF and that SOB and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, what? The East Side Robber, he's in room 107. Well, this was the guy's regular girlfriend. Came home from her shift at the restaurant, finds him in bed with a different woman.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
So she's aggrieved because she's been wronged. This guy was
She's been robbed.
so this guy was getting away with it forever until he ticks off the girlfriend. So what Dino
Story
says
of my life.
so Dino says, what's the moral of this story, right? So when you say the state is cracking down, the state isn't cracking down. You know who's cracking down? The guy who wanted that bottle of birthday bourbon at the raffle.
Right.
And he stood in line.
Right.
And he didn't get one.
He didn't get one.
But the guy in front of him got one.
Yeah.
And that night or the next day on the Bourbon blog, that guy on Secondary Bourbon Market has got a picture of that bottle. Guess who sends me a screenshot of that guy's blog? The guy standing behind him.
Okay.
Because he's in the Bourbon blog too. Right?
Right.
So he's ticked because because he wanted to drink the birthday
He wanted
bourbon.
to drink it, and that's my issue.
And this guy is selling it
Right.
for a couple $100.
It reminds me of the ticket scalping. I mean, and they're cracking down on that too.
So, but here, I'm not. I have no like bourbon police. I don't have a group of people who are like
Yet.
trolling.
Yeah.
I don't.
Go
I don't.
on, keep
I don't,
talking.
I don't have bots
Because
trolling.
I'm
right?
because I got to be honest with you, I'm the guy that took the snapshot. I'm the
Right.
guy. I
So-
hate
so-
people that sell and take advantage of that. And
So-
like, I've got it, you don't, and if
But
you want it,
so Dino, right,
we're
right,
holding hostage.
right on,
Those people piss me off, to be perfectly honest
right,
with you.
right on, man. And so I don't need a police force because I've got 1 million secret shoppers. Right, I got 1 million.
But you need someone to.
Oh, you want to lead them?
You need someone to
I need
guide and lead them.
I need a jack-booted thug like you. Is that what you're
PI
saying?
experience.
You need an Elliot Ness.
I need. You're right. I need Fredo. You're just a man.
I'm not Fredo.
So I get screenshots from blogs from the guy who sees the guy selling the thing that he wanted. Okay.
Yeah.
And now what do I do with that? Now, you're like, well, it's in the criminal code. It's in the law book. I didn't make it up. It's there. The state of Ohio sells liquor. No one else sells liquor. And when somebody buys it and sells it secondary market, or somebody buys it in Kentucky and sells it on a secondary market, that's a crime. I didn't make that up. But I'm not out there looking for it.
It's in the books.
It's already in the books, and I'm not out there looking for it. But when Dino sends me a screenshot, texts me and says, "What are you going to do about it?" I forwarded it over to the Department of Public Safety, to the liquor police, and then they investigate it. Who do I get the other complaints from? There's Joe's Bar. He does everything right. He's buying his booze. He's got his bourbon fans. He's following all the rules. But Larry's Bar, right next door, has got Willet on the shelves. He's got all these bourbons that Ohio doesn't sell. Not because I don't want it. It's because I either couldn't get it or I don't have it yet.
And he's gotten it through other scrupulous means.
He has got it from Indiana. He's got it from Kentucky.
Is he allowed to sell it?
No. He's got to buy it from the state of Ohio. Otherwise, he is selling contraband. Now, am I looking for that guy? No. But guess who sent me a picture of that bottle on his shelf? Joe. Why? Because it's unfair to Joe. Right? And so this isn't like I care about you selling something to him. It's you care. And Joe cares.
Right.
And when they send me that stuff, I forward it on. And so
it leaves your hands completely. You got nothing to do with the busting and the bringing down the bad booze guy.
I refer it because it's a crime. I refer it. and I don't particularly, like, personally, it's like, in my personal world, it's like, do I care? No. But in the world of selling booze, if I'm in the business of selling booze, do I want somebody bringing it in from Kentucky
No.
and selling booze?
No, of course not.
So it's my job to protect my market share, and that's what I do.
I have friends who are on certain sites, and tell me your thoughts on this. They don't sell on the secondary market. I guess it would be considered a secondary market on some level. But what they do is they, much like baseball cards or rare comic books, they trade.
Mm-hmm.
I've got 2 bottles of Weller Antique. You want some Weller Antique? I'll give you 2 bottles of Weller Antique if you give me 1 bottle of
Whatever that you want.
yeah. So
Right.
so
So I mean, what do you think about that? Does that tick you off as much as the guy selling it?
No, because I think those are actually, and the people that I know that do that, drink the liquor. Mm-hmm. They drink the whiskeys. They
dig the whiskey.
They dig the whiskey. They're willing to trade away 2 bottles of Weller Antique to get 1 bottle of whatever, so they can.
So at the end of the day,
So those people, I got no problem with those people.
So at the end of the day, the compulsion for all the people like you to send me screenshots is what? It's not there. It's not there. I'm not getting complaints about people trading. The public safety isn't getting complaints about people trading. It's people selling stuff that they want to drink. It's people at the bar selling stuff that the neighboring competitor isn't carrying.
Before when I opened up the show, you changed my opening when you brought this little mystery bottle, because the first my opening was going to be about everybody's got a little bit of larcenous behavior, a little bit of larceny
In the heart.
in their heart, where they think they can, if they they consider, especially those crimes that are what they would consider to be, which they rationalize in their heads to be victimless. I guarantee you, the person who's selling something on the secondary market for an exceedingly high profit feels it's a victimless crime, because to him it's supply and demand. Right at that point, he doesn't think he's actually committing a crime. He's just making a good business deal. Granted, against the law, and it's a criminal violation. But in his heart, in his larcenous
What's the big deal?
What's the big deal? He's just making a deal.
Well, you're right. On the blogs, and this is the other funny part, right? So that article came out, Ohio cracking down, blah, 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 right? So my buddies who are on the bourbon blogs, they're like, hey, Jim, check this out. And there's some dude who's on there like, who's being harmed and who's losing jobs and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Okay.
There's that guy.
Okay.
And that's probably the guy that's selling it.
So here's who's losing their job, right? So the agency who sells liquor pays their employees on commission. So when they're selling bottles, they're paying employees and selling on commission. A lot of them have family members that work in those agencies. The bar is the same thing. Joe's bar, who's doing it right, is getting crushed by the guy who's got the stuff that he's bringing in the back door. What does that do to his payroll? So it does matter to people. Now, the secondary market, by the way, mirrors what you see in non-control states. That is a market that's pure supply and demand. Underneath the control state's retail price structure.
So this would only be a crime with controlled states.
Right.
The uncontrolled states.
Well, in other states.
It's the wild, wild west. You can do it that way.
In other states, you can open a shop.
Well, there are shops.
And you sell it.
There are shops.
You have to get permitted in another state.
There are shops now that are opened up that have these rare whiskeys that they collect, and you can go and get.
And you buy whatever the market will bear.
Right.
In that state. That is the same supply and demand forces underneath a control state holding at retail price.
Can you buy stuff out of state online? Like, say I can't go to a Kentucky website and buy it in.
The state of Ohio is the store.
Yeah. No, I got you. But that you brought up a good question about the different states. But if you're in Kentucky, you could buy from another Kentucky dealer online.
Kentucky's not a control state.
Right.
Kentucky is whatever the market will bear.
You can't go to Kentucky.
Stumpos knows what I'm getting
all right. We have one studio audience member.
Right.
One.
I can't go down to the party store and come back and sell a bunch of stuff to you.
No.
I get you. Or buy it online.
We have one studio audience member, and he's been chomping on the bed. This is Brian Stumpo. Get in there. Get in the camera. Get in there so you can see it.
So, that brings it. So what you're saying is just like a site like Flavor. I don't know if you're familiar with that. So is it illegal to buy
mouth flavor?
Yeah, whatever it is. So it's illegal to buy on one of those sites and have it shipped to your house.
Yes.
And how do they get away with that online then?
Because it's not easy to detect and enforce. It's kind of like you can drive your motorcycle 125 miles an hour down the road. You can do that.
You can't do that. But if you get caught,
Right.
you're gonna get a ticket.
But it's like a wide open site. Like I thought, it must be legal. Like I bought on that site.
Now,
it's been a couple of years, but I just thought it was a legal site.
The pressure will come from the manufacturers, like Sazerac.
Okay.
Now, who doesn't love Sazerac products, right?
We all do.
It's Buffalo Trace, it's Eagle Rare, it's all the Pappies, it's an antique collection, it's ancient age, it's all of those things, right? They hate secondary market. Hate it. Visceral hatred. Like Jim Canepa is sort of like, personally, I don't really care. professionally, I have to care. Sazerac cares a lot. So if there's a lot of secondary activity in Ohio, Mark Brown is emailing me. Like, what are you doing about this? He personally emailed me when he read that article. He puts out, do you get it? He puts out Mark Brown's report.
I do not. I'm going to make a note. How do I get it?
Lindsay will forward you that site.
Okay. All right.
Top story. And he does stories on Diageo, Beam Suntory, Constellation. He does like heavy hitter stories. It's a clipping service. The top story was Ohio cracking down, and he's like, a note to all his readership: other states should follow what Ohio is doing because it matters to the manufacturer. So if it impacts my ability to get Pappy and Buffalo Antique and all those sorts of things, I care. Now, again, it goes back to,
Don't get too far away from the mic.
it goes back to how is it detected and enforced? In internet sales right now is the wild, wild west.
Yeah.
See, I didn't like a site like that. I didn't realize
You're
it was
a criminal.
I'm a criminal.
You're a criminal.
Well,
You
I
have
didn't know-
larceny in your heart.
I
You
bought
have
a
larceny
bottle.
in your heart.
I bought a bottle. I thought it was a legitimate site. There's something I've never seen.
If I can order it and get it, right?
It must
How
be
can, it
legal.
must be okay.
It must
must
be
be okay
okay.
with the state.
If I can get away with it, then it can't be a crime.
I didn't even think like that. I think I can buy this online and they ship it to my house. That must be legal.
But if
It's
Hansberry goes to
not.
Kentucky and buys a bunch of shit that's not available in Ohio and tries to sell it to
Same-
Joe's bar or
same-
Larry's
same
bar,
idea.
You're a criminal. You can give it to me. You can't sell it to me. You can give it. You can go to Kentucky and buy it and give it to me. You can gift it to me, because that'd be
I'd be
fine.
happy to do that.
All right, that's okay.
Yes,
just
yeah.
just want to be,
So there's a lot of there's a
I would do that for
I'm
you.
putting a
Yes.
subliminal suggestion into your
I'm
brain.
happy.
That's right.
I got Elmer T. I've got it on my short list.
I
Elmer
know
T.
So
you
there's
do.
a lot of mythology that's been
And
handed down by word of mouth from the tree people about like, why are they suddenly no, he's been on the books since after Prohibition,
Right.
man.
Do you want to bust up another rumor real
Sure.
quick? I got this from a friend of mine. He heard a rumor, and granted, rumors on the internet run rampant.
No.
Are we having an issue with Buffalo Trace at the moment?
Sazerac. No.
Yeah, Sazerac? No. There was a rumor going around that buy Buffalo Trace while you can because it's not going to be available in Ohio.
Total
for a while.
bogus. Totally bogus.
Totally bogus?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Done.
Somebody sent me that one, and we were like, no.
Oh, that's like the whole
Actually, we're getting more.
buy Weller when it's on the shelf because we're never going to see
Right.
it again.
Well, no, he said he was concerned.
No, we're actually getting a greater allotment allocation of Buffalo Trace and Eagle Rare.
Eagle Rare. Brian was talking about Eagle Rare. He hasn't seen a bottle on the shelf,
And Blanton's.
and Blanton's.
Think again. Everybody, chilled up, out.
You can say fuck.
Well,
Oh, you can. I can.
you can. So
It's been what, a year, 2 years? How long have you been in
since
office?
March of 17,
Yeah.
and like these
Going on 2 years, yeah.
these barrels, right? These barrel program. That's a bonus, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're getting that because I'm going and buying it. It's like it's increasing our profile. It's creating a better market. And again, if we sell a lot of Blantons, what the manufacturer says is, you sold a lot of Blantons. We need to give you more Blantons. If you sell a lot of Eagle Rare, they say, you sold a lot of Eagle Rare. We need to give you more Eagle Rare. Mm-hmm. So we keep getting more, not less.
Okay. So to my friend who was concerned about the Buffalo Trace, send that out to the
Bogus.
to the Whiskey Tribe. That is,
We're
I hate
getting
to use the term fake news. Fake news. Bogus. Buffalo Trace is alive and well in the state of Ohio. So send that out to everybody that needs to know. See, I'm just trying. I get emails. And
I get them all the time.
I get text messages.
Here, let me tell you another one.
all the time.
Here's another one I got.
Another rumor?
No, here's another email I got.
Another email that
Yeah.
you're going to put the rest?
Doing the raffles that we do. Mm-hmm. Doing the lotteries that we do. And again, I told this story last time I was here. But when I met with the CEO of Sazerac, Mark Brown, Ohio wasn't getting Pappy. 2 years ago, we were cut off. And so I see him at
Why?
I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
I said, well, I see him at a trade show, and yes, there are liquor trade shows. I see him at a trade show. I'm like, Mark, like, how do I get the spigot turned back on in Ohio? And he's an English guy, and he's like, you have to merchandise it fairly. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, in Ohio, my bourbon comes in there, and it goes to VIPs. It goes to.
Is he saying that?
It goes to.
Is he saying that in a disgruntled manner?
Yes.
Okay.
It's going to bourbon stalkers, is what he says. He goes, in Ohio, this agency's got a list.
He wants you and me to have a shot at getting it.
He wants people to have a shot, an opportunity at getting it. He doesn't like when the bourbon comes in and that same dude who's on the list, who's likely selling at secondary market, is getting an armful of bottles from the clerk at the Kroger. He hates it. And he said, and I'm like, what do I do? What do I do to get the tap turned back on? And he's like, do a lottery. He goes, it's fair. People get an opportunity. So I get the spigot turned back on, and we're getting like double and triple the Pappy and the Buffalo Antique Collection. And I get this shitty blogger who's not even sending it to me. It's between his other dweeby little bloggers.
Don't hold back.
And he says, I don't appreciate these raffles and lotteries because all it's doing is giving women an opportunity to buy our bourbon.
Okay. All right. That's bullshit.
Okay. What?
What?
It's like, okay, but that's the mindset, right?
It's giving women that was his big complaint.
His complaint is
It's giving women an opportunity to buy our bourbon.
And so that's the mindset, though. I mean, these guys think I always got it first, and Canepa's screwing up my world. And
Canepa's letting women buy whiskey.
I'm letting women buy whiskey.
I love it. My friend Courtney and Craig. Courtney got on the list, won a bottle of Pappy, and hid it from her husband Craig and gave it to him as a gift. And it
What
was
she get what bottle of Pappy? What do you remember?
I don't know. I think it was 2 Christmases ago, so I don't remember what. But it was the best Christmas gift of all time. So it's
And so
I love the idea.
so from the manufacturer's standpoint, he wants it fairly purchased. And
Christmas gifts.
But
That guy just confirmed, by the way, an article I read today in the paper about how the brains of men age far less gracefully than those of women. So he just confirmed that in one fell swoop of an email.
But-
That's crazy.
So
Women love bourbon.
So-
God bless women.
So I'm doing lotteries. I'm doing raffles. This 1% crazed bourbon stalkers who are selling at secondary market. They're the ones who online sent around the delivery schedule for the Krogers.
Yeah.
And they're standing out there freezing their asses off, like waiting to get a bottle of, something. It's like, what? Get a life, man. So.
But people are doing that. That people have their favorite liquor stores, and they know the delivery dates of what they're getting. And
Tuesdays.
that was one of your questions, Brian.
Tuesdays at Giant Eagle.
Go ahead, Brian. I didn't mean to steal your question,
It
but it
depends
came
on
up.
what Giant Eagle you're talking about or what Kroger, because there are actually lists available online that says this is the delivery date on this store, this is the truck day of this. Everybody knows the truck day of your liquor store that's near you, and it's almost like.
Of course, we're switching them up now just to screw with them.
That's okay. Good.
We are.
Yes.
And
put a little mystery. in
okay,
it,
so here's the
James.
other thing. Here's the other thing I did. Right? The best and worst thing I ever did. Created a website that tells people where the stuff is. Have you been on there?
That's a new website, right?
OHLQ.com.
Yeah.
You can go on there and say, tell me where the Blanton's is. And it'll show you every OHLQ.com.
Write it down, people.
And you go on there. There you go. You go on there, and it'll have little bottle icons for where every liquor agency is in the state of Ohio. And you can find one near you, make it your favorite, and it'll give you a little bottle icon. If it's full, there's a lot of that stuff. If it's half, there's some stuff there.
It's very clever. Who came up with that?
We got some,
You got some
clever people.
Got some clever people working at the.
And so what
state of Ohio?
this has done is it's now put a whole pile of competition for the stalkers. Right? So if it isn't the damnest thing, women are buying their bourbon, and I love it.
It's cutthroat. Like
I love it.
My dad is at every Tuesday he goes to his Kroger. Right, 9:00 when they open the door, and there's 7-8 women there. The same 7 or 8 women every time that he'll then see at another Kroger on a Wednesday.
And I love it.
And they're buying for their husband, really. They're
Right.
Like, oh, yeah, my
No,
husband.
are they?
I don't know. But,
Are they?
The one
Are they
thing he
really?
brought up that
Whatever their reasons, God
it
bless
was
them.
a little frustrating. What he saw was they were very rude to the employees. What do you mean the truck's not here yet? Well, what's on the manifest?
Well,
Tell me what's on the manifest.
Very entitled.
The disembodied voice that you hear that you don't hear if you're watching our YouTube video is once again Brian Stumpo. But he's right. He's saying like people now know when the delivery dates are, and they're getting there. Much like your raffles and your lotteries, people are getting in line
Right.
on delivery dates at their favorite liquor agency to find out what's coming in.
And so what's good about this is the stalkers are the only ones that used to know where it was and when it was. But now
So this website
it's putting it out
basically
there.
just
It's putting it out
squashes
there,
them.
blasting it out there.
Oh, they gotta hate that.
There's some,
you
Buffalo Trace and the Kroger in Worthington Place.
there you go. They hate it. You wouldn't believe. I get again, no blogger sends me anything. They're just between each other, and I get a screenshot from somebody.
you get somebody else.
They're hating on you for this website. It's people are buying up their bourbon, right?
And you said something earlier about when they would only give you a barrel, it would piss people off. You make these special trips, you wait in line, and then you don't get the stuff.
You don't get a chance.
It pisses you off. This gives you a little, at least a fighting chance,
See,
or
no.
you go, I'm not going to make the effort. They
No,
don't have it.
you either decide if you have to decide if you want to do it. With the raffles and the lotteries,
Those are all. You don't wait in line. You just put a ticket
you
in.
put a ticket. The lotteries, you put
Right,
a ticket
well,
in
right,
online,
but I'm
and if you
saying-
get picked,
You get picked.
you
If I
go.
go to look into for some fancy thing, they don't have
But
it. I get pissed off.
at the most, one of the ones that we did a whiskey shot, a short little thing. We went to the one at Hills Market. That was a raffle.
That was a raffle.
That was a raffle.
Now the raffle format,
little different.
The raffle format was a reaction to people like, I have to get up really early in the morning and stand in line for these barrel picks. Now I kind of do that with barrel picks because I'm like, believe it or not, I kind of think like I'm buying a barrel, even though the master distiller is picking the barrels out for me. I'm buying a barrel. I'm bringing it in. I'm not going to pretend like that's Old Forester birthday bourbon, right?
right.
Old Forester birthday bourbon, we got 30 cases for the whole state. 30 cases, right? So I'm going to have a raffle.
Sure.
And so Hills Market, you put a ticket in. You put it in when the gate opens. You can go shop. You can go sit at the bar. Just be back at the time we pull the tickets.
Right.
And that's for the person who doesn't want to stand in line in the cold. And we do that all the time now for these small allocations. Old Fitzgerald is another one, and those sorts of things. So that gives people an opportunity because, again, all of those hard-to-get stuff, we're going to a small handful of people. And I want the manufacturers to give me more and more and more. And the only way I can do that is to establish Ohio as a fair market to buy these things.
Do you think, since you've taken that position, are you accomplishing that goal?
Oh, absolutely.
You think you're getting there?
Oh, I go to I'm going to Red Bank down in Cincinnati. It's a liquor store. And when I was at the Upper Arlington Giant Eagle for the Limestone branch, I stand in line and I talk to like regular people, and they're like, "Thank you." Like we never had the opportunity to get a bottle something like this before, and I'm like, "Thank God," because it's like the only things I read are the people slamming me. And when like regular people who are appreciative stand in line are like, "Thank you," I'm like, "Okay, it's totally worth it."
You realize that if you're getting emails from people slamming you, you're doing your job.
That's what I think.
Yeah,
That's what I
right.
think.
What do they say in media? For every
Yeah.
one person who
Yeah.
hates you, there's
So here's the other
10
thing.
people that love you.
So here's the other thing. You inspired me last time. You
I
were like,
did?
yeah, you had a question. You were like, people say that there are these lists. Tell me about these lists, right?
Oh yeah, have we
Right?
cracked down on that?
So what does this website do? It shines a light on all the cockroaches who are running liquor stores who have a list, right?
It was one of my questions.
So what happens is you get on the website, you see there's a bottle of Buffalo Trace over at, where did you say?
the Worthington Kroger.
You beat feet over there. Where's the Buffalo Trace? Are you on the list? So what you do is what you do is you're like, it's right here.
And to your point, that's what they do at Target. You know, I mean, you can look online and see what they
Right.
have in stock. Why
Amazon,
why does this have to
Target,
be
right?
Different. Yeah.
So what happens now is we have a 1-877 number that you call. Lindsay, what's that number?
she hung up a while ago.
Lindsay, what's that number?
Lindsay again is your.
number?
Yeah.
It's 877-812-0013.
Now, what that is our nerve center. It has all the data about all the inventory in every liquor store. So if you call up and say they're not selling it to me because I'm not on a list, or they got to get their boss to approve it, or they're holding it for someone else, it's shining lights on all these cockroach agencies. And we call them up and we're like, what are you doing?
Gentlemen, John Whitney, Greg Hansberry,
Yep.
we inspired
You did.
the state of Ohio.
You did.
Cutting down on cockroaches.
We inspired the state of Ohio to crack down. So has that gone
It's
down?
worked.
Because I know there was
Again, I got an army of secret shoppers. It's awesome.
So has it cracked down on the?
Oh, yeah.
Because you said in the last podcast that if you were to go
These
to
agencies,
a store that
these
had,
agencies are now afraid that someone is going to call and say they have a list. Because if I find out they have a list, guess what they don't get? They don't get the event.
right, they don't get the event.
They don't get a raffle.
And don't you? And didn't you say
They don't
that?
get-
Didn't you also say that you take their inventory?
If they're not selling it right,
If they're not selling it right?
we'll move it somewhere else
Yeah.
where they do sell it.
Yeah. Congratulations, boys!
look
You've
at
done
that.
well.
Whiskey,
look what you've
whiskey
done.
business.
Whiskey
Whiskey
business is getting down to some business,
Love
cracking down
Right?
and letting the everyday man
So
get
We're
their
gonna get
whiskey.
the key to the city if we keep this up.
Nah, I don't think so.
you're going to get like beat up on the way to your car. Is what I think.
Bring it.
Liquor
Yeah,
store
yeah.
card.
So, bring your hate, bring your love.
So-
It's equal amounts.
So, like I said, it's the best thing and worst thing, right? The best
Right.
thing is it's making it fair, it's transparent. The worst thing is getting these calls and having to deal with an irate customer, which
Oh,
I don't,
bet.
and I don't blame them, right? I don't blame them, but it's hard talking them off the ledge and saying, okay, look, go back now.
First of all, talking them off the ledge. If you need to be talked off a ledge because you're not getting your whiskey, maybe you need to shift
Dean-
your priorities
Dean-
just a little bit. That's
Lindsay,
all I'm saying.
Lindsay, am I exaggerating when I say how crazy these people are?
No, not at all.
Here, let me read this one. This is the winner. We got to have like the best hate or just the best.
And the next time you come back, Lindsay, if you're listening, next time you come back, you got to bring Lindsay because right now she's like Charlie on Charlie's
Yeah.
Angels. She's just a disembodied voice that we don't know. We just know she exists.
Last
And-
time I think she'd just given birth. To,
Yeah, she get yeah. So we
Okay,
need to
this
have
is-
Lindsay
so,
on.
yeah.
The, on
Okay,
the
this is
podcast
awesome.
as
Her
well.
child
Okay,
is
this
already
is-
drinking. by
Mark
now.
it down, Lindsay. You're on the
Okay.
next podcast.
Okay, this is awesome.
Deal.
This
All
is
right.
an email that, and of course, Lindsay has to get these and respond to them, right? So,
Lord.
so how does she respond to this? Hey, please let me get a bottle. I'm sure tons of people ask you, but never know. I might get lucky. I would do anything. I will send you a video of me getting kicked hard in the
Sure. We
In
can
the
use
nuts.
our imagination.
In the
yeah,
nuts.
Okay.
or whatever. Please hook me up. I just want to taste it. My grandpa would always talk about it.
They always got to talk about their grandparents.
He
or-
passed
or
away
something.
before
yeah.
I was
Oh,
able-
the dead grandparents.
and
there
then
it
somebody
is.
died.
He
Yeah.
passed
Yeah.
away before I was able to drink, and I'm on disability. Blah blah blah.
Okay, yeah.
Either
I've
way,
got some Michael Bublé tickets I could throw
yeah.
him.
So it's like
This is my Christmas wish.
a video.
Lindsay,
what?
I empathize
He was
for
going to
you.
send us a
He's
video.
gonna send a video of him getting kicked in the nuts so he can get a taste of whatever whiskey he wanted.
Like, how does Lindsay respond to that?
I don't know. How did you respond to that,
I-
Lindsay?
I said like,
Kill him with
what,
kindness.
I mean, what did you say, Lindsay?
I did. I killed him with kindness. I let him know that it was for one of the barrel releases, so I let him know he's more than welcome to come out and join us at the barrel release, and we definitely think we'd have product for him to be able to enjoy and try and taste. Video was not necessary.
Did you secretly really want to see the video though, just out of curiosity?
Not.
I mean, it's crazy.
All right, we got a couple things to get to before we run out of time here. Hansberry, how are we doing on time? Where were we at? We're getting close.
You just do
All
some
right.
editing, man. You don't have to do.
No. We're good. I want to ask you how the last call stores are doing.
Last call. Again, reminder: we're running a business, right?
Right. So
So-
last call stores are products that are going to leave the state of Ohio.
No.
No?
Last call. Again, the state buys the booze.
Right.
When the state buys booze, not all of it is a home run. Like, the person who thought buying Fruit Loop flavored vodka.
Do you make the decisions as to what
Yeah.
we buy and
Yes.
get?
Remember we talked about this last
Yes, we
time?
did. So you make all the
Right.
so you
We list
Are you
products.
saying that you've made some bad choices?
Not me, before me. when I got here, when I took the job in March of 17, we had 450,000 bottles of dusty inventory that nobody
Yes,
wanted.
There's some shit out there.
Okay, so when you're running a business and you have inventory that's not selling, that costs tens of millions of dollars,
Right.
your bondholders get real itchy.
Sure.
And we have bondholders.
that.
We have bondholders. Jobs Ohio bought the liquor business, and all the bottles we sell go to the revenue to do projects around Ohio, to do development projects. And so I'm like, what do we do about this? So I made it mandatory. Each of the 400 agencies had to put an end cap that said last call, because the manufacturers changed the label, or they changed the bottle design, or somebody decided to buy cilantro vodka and nobody bought it, right?
I bought some Tabasco vodka the other. Or
Salmon.
Tabasco bourbon.
No.
Nah.
Salmon.
Tabasco
Mint-
bourbon.
mint bourbon.
It looked good, but
Tabasco. The mint julep bourbon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
let's
stuff.
come-
So it doesn't move. It doesn't sell. We own it. What are we gonna do with it? So I said mandatory. Put it on end caps. Say last call. It'd be cool.
everything must go.
People will dig that, right? Because when I go to Kentucky, there's always that one section that's like, when it's gone, it's gone. And I'm like, I'm just gonna steal that page right out of Kentucky's book, right?
Yeah, fine. Yeah.
So,
why not?
but the agencies pushed back. They were like, we don't think it's a big deal. They're merchandising experts. They don't like the idea. They weren't complying with it. So the Giant Eagle on Neal Avenue in Victorian Village
Right.
was going to move their whole lock, stock, and barrel up to Arcadia and High, including their liquor store. So the pharmacy was gone, grocery was gone, everything was gone, except for one little liquor store they were going to close up and move up the street. And I'm like, hey, would you guys be a last call store? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, literally like boxes of dusty bottles just on the floor everywhere where people can come in and pick through them, look for treasures. And they're like, huh. And like, do we have to like mark shelves and stuff? I'm like, no, just bring the boxes out like a garage sale. And so we planned 2 weekends, Thursday through Sunday, over 1 week, Thursday through Sunday the next week. And we put aside, we trucked 2,000 of these bottles. And we're like, that should last us both weeks. 2,000 bottles sold in the first afternoon on the first Thursday.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
And it was packed. Like you couldn't move. You'd bring a box out and people pulling bottles out of your arms. And because I was helping stock, because
were they discounted as well?
and discounted.
Okay.
Some things are like,
Everybody likes a bargain.
some things are up to 40% off, and other things are you can't get them anymore. Like the Faro Maker's Mark Blue Maker's Whiskey. You remember that?
No.
Like for the Kentucky Derby, Faro won it.
Oh, okay. All right.
Faro
all right,
won
all
it.
right, all right, yes.
Well,
yes.
nobody bought it because of the blue container, but it was Maker's Mark, right? And you couldn't get it anymore. People tore through that stuff. So in 2 weeks, we sold $310,000 worth of discounted dusty bottles.
Nice.
56,000 bottles sold. Wow. And now everybody wants a last call store. Everybody who was like,
So you got more last call stores popping
well,
up.
so
yes?
we did the one in Columbus.
Just pop-up scenario.
No, these are permanent.
These are permanent.
Oh,
permanent,
Permanent
last
venues.
call venues. Now Giant Eagle wants to keep that store. Imagine that, right?
All right.
We're going to put one up. One in Toledo is functioning right now, so we can steal from Michigan. That was the other thing is the manufacturers of this stuff were like, we've never seen Kentucky plates at an Ohio liquor store. Think about that. It's Ohio plates at Kentucky liquor stores.
Yeah, that's a nice change.
So we're putting one. One is functioning right now in Toledo. We're negotiating to put one on the border in Cincinnati to steal from Kentucky, and then we're gonna put one up in like Geauga County to steal from Pennsylvania.
Oh, nice.
And they're just like blind squirrel find nut. I mean, it's but
they're
think
finding
about
nuts
it,
that they want.
But think about it though, like with the treasure hunter shows
Sure.
and the storage wars and American Pickers, people just like bargain shopping, looking for that whatever bottle of whiskey or and it was cuckoo. It was just crazy.
So, kudos to that. Great. That's awesome that it's gonna stick around and continue, and you found another way for the state of Ohio to make money. Brian Stumpo, do you have any more questions before we go? Did we cover everything? Our one
He's got
studio.
he's got so much to say.
Our
I
one
got so
studio
much to say.
audience
I'm gonna talk
member.
auditing and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But,
because we're running out of time.
No, I'm good because I had a question about how Ohio pays for liquor, but I think you just killed it with the amount of our sales. Because you read stuff online and it's got to be true.
It's
right?
cost of goods. I mean,
But
Ohio made 1.3 billion last year. Stumpo.
Oh, I'm good. I like it. Maybe he's got the nickname.
He's got you down to the
He's known
last
me his
name.
whole life.
Yeah.
Well, no, I read somebody was saying, oh well, Ohio only pays after the final sales man.
No.
That's when they pay the manufacturer. So that's why we're not getting any bourbon because the manufacturers. And you killed that when you were talking about.
Yeah.
We
address that.
We buy it from them.
Yeah.
We own it.
We own it. It's
No,
done.
Then it goes to the liquor store, and you either buy it or you don't buy it.
All right.
And that the rumor was, oh no, we don't pay the manufacturers until it's sold on the shelves. I'm like,
Geniuses.
that don't make any
Another
sense,
rumor
but-
squelched.
Yeah.
Done.
When
Okay.
you talk about the velocity of our sales, that just tells me right away. It's like, nah. That's
So you're
not how
happy?
it's going.
You're
I'm good.
okay. You're content. Get back the microphone to Hansberry. We have, as we started the podcast, the message in the bottle. This was brought to us once again by James Canepa. The last time he brought a mystery bottle, I totally was completely wrong. I thought that first one it had a hint of Basil Hayden, which is why I stuck with the Jim Beam family there for a second. So this is a new. Now, is this available as we speak in Ohio?
It's available as we speak.
And is it new?
Yes.
Fairly. How new?
It's not like last week new.
Not like last week. New.
It's like in the last 6 months new.
Last 6 months new. And is there a lot of it available?
It's not like Fireball. No.
Well, nothing's quite like Fireball.
It's like your.
Well, that batch of Woodford you were talking about that you gave us last time.
There's more than that.
There's more than that.
Yep.
All right. So we're going and the goal here is to find out.
And it's under $50.
Ooh.
And this guarantees a third appearance from Canepa.
Yeah, no, I told him on the last podcast that we wanted him back on a regular basis.
Now you got to get rid of that rye out of that glass.
Do we need to take a quick break?
No, here's you know what?
Drink it and rinse it.
Here, be men. Put some water in your glass. Drink your water and empty the glass. There, okay? All right, come on.
Like this, like little remnants.
There,
wouldn't
okay?
matter to me.
That's fine. Now, what do I have to determine? What distiller this comes from?
Distiller, brand, whatever you think you can zero in on.
I don't know. B, do you want some of this? Stumpo? And look, we're even leaving you a little bit to take back home with you.
I'm not taking it. I'm
No, you're
leaving it.
not. I'm leaving it right here. Okay, boys. Take a sip.
First of all, what do you think?
It's Blanton's. I don't know. It smells delicious. But I've already had 3 pours of High West, so everything.
A little hot going in, but a nice finish.
It smells familiar.
It does. It tastes.
Well, you've had Woodford before too.
Yeah.
I would say that it's 100% sure that you've had it before.
Oh, that's a lot of pressure on you.
100% sure that we've had this
Not this, but
This.
this distiller.
distiller before.
Stumpo says Elijah Craig.
Stumpo's going with the good folks from Heaven Hill.
The color's not right for Old Forester.
Stumpo's got some game.
Stumpo, that's why he's here.
Another convert
Angels Envy.
over the years.
Angels
Yeah,
Envy?
another convert over the years that's turned.
I mean, I feel like it's Four Roses even.
Stumpo says even Four Roses. Dino, that's your everyday whiskey.
No,
Well, it's one of them.
that's
one of your
Isn't that his everyday whiskey right there?
yeah.
No, yeah. Brown Foreman loves me. Jack's the go-to every day, but yeah, whatever. I just love whiskey. What do you think, boys?
I got my between those two, but
It's very peaty. The aftertaste is a little
Not peaty. I don't think it's peaty at all.
Oh, I've got that like kind of oaky.
Maybe you should
oaky.
brush your teeth.
I feel
There's that, too.
I feel like it's a little more rye than I would be expecting. So, it just
Well, to be continued.
To be
Yeah.
continued.
I don't know. I wouldn't know anyway.
After 77 bottles, you don't have even a thought, a process.
I've given several thoughts, but I can't. I'm not that adept.
No guesses over there
Whitney,
from behind the
John Whitney.
camera.
John Whitney, our video producer. Does it seem familiar to you at all?
It does not.
I would say the smell is more familiar.
Do
than
you
the
like it,
taste.
John?
I do like it. And you say we're under $50 a bottle, and it's available as we speak.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the shelves as we speak here in Ohio, in a limited supply, or
It's not Fireball.
it's not Fireball.
Is it made in Ohio?
No, not made in Ohio. Nothing wrong with Ohio brands, but it's not made in Ohio.
You know, something that just came out recently.
Within the last 6 months.
Lindsay, what is it?
I have no idea.
Within the last
She
6
doesn't
months. Oh, let's see. I kind of like where you're going with the Old Forester.
well, it's not the right color for an Old Forester. Old Forester's a lot darker. A lot darker.
Yeah, but
The Four Roses.
Is this a barrel proof liquor?
It is.
it is a
barrel
barrel
That's why
proof.
I said- that's
Liquor.
why I felt like it was like Elijah Craig barrel proof. Like, that
Could
was
it?
just
Could
really
it be? Could it be? Well, no, because he says that we're getting the barrel.
On Friday.
Elijah Craig barrel on
Craig
Friday.
Barrel proofs they're floating around out there right
Yeah.
now. The A119s are out there right now. I think.
Oh, I wanted to tell you before we close here what's coming.
Okay, do that. We'll let the
we don't
mystery
know, we
bottle.
don't know.
We'll let the mystery bottle stay to the next podcast.
So,
But let us know what's on the way.
Five-
These coming. These are coming. Not available
Coming.
yet, but coming.
Coming.
All right, here we go. Those whiskey enthusiasts.
5 barrels, Old Forester. 5 barrels, 1792 barrel proof.
Nice.
7 barrels of Weller,
Barrels.
barrel select.
Barrel Select Weller.
Barrel select.
When? You can tell us when?
We're-
Are all
we're
these
pa-
in the next 3 to 6 months?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Fair
see,
enough.
that's a long ball game that you were playing with the Weller here. It was sold well, and now you're getting some barrel
I'm-
select.
okay.
I mean,
yeah.
nobody's getting barrels of Weller. Ohio
for you.
is. Yeah.
Oh, when you say Weller, are you saying
Barrel.
of what? Special Reserve,
4
Antique,
4 reserve.
12 year,
4 reserve, 3 antique.
4 Reserve, 3 Antique, barrel strength. Mm-hmm. Okay.
10 more barrels of makers. 2 more of those little barrels of limestone branch
Nice.
from Stephen Beam. 18 barrels of Knob Creek. 8 rye.
8 rye. I love the rye.
10 straight.
Okay.
All between 9 and 13 years old.
Ooh, nice. Because I'm a big fan of the Knob Creek rye, more so than I am of
They're
I
fantastic.
like their bourbon, but I love their
15 Elijah Craig Friday.
Friday. 15 barrels
15
of
barrels.
Elijah Craig.
30.
That's 15 single barrels.
15. These are all single barrels.
And by the way, he's saying Friday. This episode will be dropping on Friday.
On
so
Friday,
when you hear
so-
this episode,
Yeah.
It
this
will
is
be
the Friday he's
That'll be that
talking
Friday,
about.
right?
Which puts pressure on you to actually
Oh,
drop it
shit.
on Friday
So
instead of Saturday afternoon.
well,
you know, when the kids are napping.
Get around.
Smooth Ambler.
Oh,
I don't have a barrel number on that yet because I have to go do my gypsy routine.
Smooth Ambler is one of my favorites. Smooth Ambler. Let me just say this: I am a huge fan of your products. I loved your 7. I loved your 9. I was not a fan of the American whiskey. I was not a fan of the Smooth Ambler American, which you've not had on the podcast yet. But not a big fan. But almost everything else you have done, I have loved. So, 90% yes and only 10% no. But what do we got coming here? Smooth Ambler what?
I don't know. I got to go do my gypsy routine and see what I can hork out of them.
Okay.
So,
But they've done a magnificent job.
hey, I love it. I love that we're getting the opportunity. I don't know how many barrels. I'm going to try to get as many as I can.
Okay.
So, in the non-bourbon category, but whiskey,
Just whiskey. All right.
Highland Park Scotch
Oh,
barrels.
nice. Very nice.
Now this one, for the bourbon purists, they're going to cringe, but I don't care.
Cringe.
Barrels of Crown Royal. Barrels.
Of just
Barrels of Crown Royal. So
Ba-
they make their crown, they throw it in a barrel, and they age it. And we can't keep Crown on the shelves. Now, it's not for me, but the
as far as Canadian whiskeys go, if I'm going to get a Canadian whiskey, it's going to be a Crown. It's going to be Crown.
it
And I have Crown Royal XR back there. I have a regular bottle of Crown. I have
these Crown Royal barrels will vaporize faster than any barrel I
probably will. Yeah.
Patron
Oh.
tequila in an oak barrel, finished in a bourbon barrel.
Tequilas
Nice.
are hot.
And
Okay.
and we
All
got,
right. That might actually get me back to drinking tequila
There you go.
because tequila is
it's crazy right now.
and it's also off my list of liquors because
I love the water.
Two fingers out of the freezer one night.
I had a bad experience with tequila years ago. So, but I know that tequila has progressed immensely since I had that incident some 20 years ago.
George Clooney. I mean, come on.
So there is a huge demand for the tequila barrel program, and so we're gonna start bringing. Like, it's not for me, but
But it is for others.
But
And
it
you
is
gotta-
for others.
And you
It's a business, right?
unselfishly have to think of others.
I guess so.
All right, so we're about ready to wrap. Everybody good? We got a lot of answers today. We dispelled a lot of rumors tonight.
Can I have a suggestion for number 3?
Sure.
When he comes back,
Absolutely.
Can we have,
For Godfather 3.
can we have a bartender or a bar owner sit in with us? to ask-
Absolutely.
I think there are some questions from
Oh,
that
yeah.
side of the
Tons.
stick that
I just
would-
met with the
yeah.
Bar and Restaurant Association this morning.
Yeah, and I know that they love you.
They do, yeah. They do love you.
Did you hear that, Lindsay?
They do, and we had
Like
a huge
progress.
response from that organization.
That's awesome.
On your
That's
last
great.
podcast.
That's
So,
great.
Yeah.
Love it.
I mean, you speak the truth, and sometimes
Try
the
to.
truth is hard to take, and sometimes the things that we hear are not necessarily what we want to hear. But hey, we got to deal with it, adjust, and move on. So on that final note,
By the way, I forgot to tell you.
one less thing.
Some woman who is the compliance agent at the medical marijuana program said to give you her card. I don't know what that means, but
yes, give it to me because
Jennifer at the
Weed and whiskeys.
that is
I think that's a Hank Williams
something
Jr.
about
record.
something about a typewriter, and I thought it was some kind of street jargon.
Oh no! I collect old typewriters.
Well, there you go.
I collect
Oh,
old
yeah, that's what
typewriters.
it's about.
In code. Jennifer, I collect old typewriters, and yes, you'll be on the podcast. Actually, we want to do a podcast about medical marijuana, and that's upcoming. So
So she said hi,
maybe
and she's
Jennifer.
She says hi, and she's a fan.
Well, Jennifer, you will be on our show, maybe with Jason Kester.
I'm not doing anything tomorrow.
No, I think that's something we got to cover on Whiskey Business, since we are based out of Columbus, Ohio, and that is a big thing that is about to break huge. I hope it doesn't cut into your inventory.
I think we're good.
Actually, I think the two will be married very well. That's just one man's opinion. Our guest has been James Canepa, Superintendent of Ohio Liquor Control in the state of Ohio. Once again, guaranteed for a third visit, right?
There you go.
Absolutely right.
you
So
go.
we got to find out what this was, and we all have our thoughts. Are any of us close?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not.
I think Stumpo's got it.
Stumpo's got it.
He's in the right path.
Stumpo. I'm so proud of you.
Glad we can.
I'm so proud of you. Your father will be so proud of you.
Hey.
On iTunes. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No.
I was gonna say, let me get the business out of the way.
Yeah, get it.
Subscribe to us on iTunes, rate and review us, and share with your whiskey loving friends, especially this episode, because this is probably one of the most informative shows we've ever done.
It's one of the most
Ever.
whiskey centric. Yes.
But
Whiskey
also
business shows.
So subscribe and rate and
Imagine
review
that.
us.
Whiskey centric on whiskey business.
Well,
It doesn't
The
happen
irony-
very
the
often.
irony.
It doesn't happen very often. We
we're
got
on-
people
we're on,
crying about their moms and their dads, and
we're on
Their
Facebook,
grandpa.
we're on Instagram.
we cower so many bases. You know, our guests run from A to Z. So when we have something that's actually whiskey centric, it's kind of cool.
Imagine
We
that.
like
Yeah.
YouTube, thanks to John Whitney.
John
our
Whitney, of
producer,
course.
Whiskey
Put your thumbs up in there,
Business
Johnny. There
with
you go.
Dino Tripodis.
Yes,
And I think that's it.
I think that's.
And
Subscribe.
Lindsay, what do we like to say? Cheers to.
Everything.
Cheers to everything.
Everything is awesome.
And we also would like to have Lindsay with us on the next podcast.
You need to be here for sure.
if she can get a sitter for the baby and the dog.
Right.
And the husband.
And the husband. If she wants to come into this den of what would you call this?
Heathens.
Yeah, don't.
It's not Peter Pan's treehouse. Shut
Lindsay,
the fuck
don't
up.
do
What?
it. Just stay on the phone,
All right.
Lindsay.
My name is Dino Tripodis. This has been Whiskey Business, a podcast not so much about whiskey as it is one with whiskey, except for tonight. All the opinions are those of me and our reluctant and sometimes not so reluctant guest, James Canepa, ladies and gentlemen, an actual important figure in Ohio. And thank you so much for joining us once again. We've got some great fun stuff coming up in the podcast to come. Next week, if you're a movie lover, George Wolf and Hope Madden will be joining us for Oscar picks
From Mad Wolf, yeah.
from Mad Wolf.
Love
Yeah, so
them.
next week we talk Oscars, and so if you're a movie lover and a whiskey lover, we'll have a good whiskey to go along with that.
Because George normally drives like his Harley, so he doesn't drink a lot of whiskey, which means there's more for us.
But Hope, there's only one person can drive the Harley.
So Hope's gonna
compensate.
So
Okay.
we're gonna
All
let,
right,
we're
damn
gonna
it.
let
All
Hope
right.
we're gonna let
Okay,
Hope
okay.
do most of the drinking. Anyway, we hope you enjoyed tonight's podcast, and until the next bottle, our guest bottle, High West Whiskey, the American Prairie Bourbon, not
Good
too
stuff.
shabby,
Good stuff.
not too shabby. See ya.